So, antisocial personality disorder. Antisocial personality disorder is a characterized behavior pattern where one doesn't acknowledge right or wrong and consistently disregards the rights and feelings of others. A lot of professionals might call this something along the lines of being a sociopath or a psychopath. It's not that all people with ASPD are sociopathic or psychopathic, but most sociopaths or psychopaths will have some form of antisocial personality disorder. So, how does it affect people? Most people begin showing signs of this disorder before age 15, and that comes across in terms of things like conduct problems or issues with being narcissistic. It's very common for people with ASPD to be diagnosed with narcissistic disorder before they're actually diagnosed with ASPD. In extreme cases of this disorder, if it's not recognized or treated or remedied, people with this disorder could go on to violate the law or have really serious issues with substance abuse and just general risky behaviors and lifestyles. So, what even are the signs of this disorder? There's many signs that will characterize this disorder, many main ones, and so a few of them are things along the lines of disregard for right and wrong, being very manipulative, having a general lack of empathy and a lack of just feelings for others, not really considering the negative or positive consequences of their actions, acting on impulse a lot, not only harming people around them but sometimes themselves. They tend to behave with very risky behaviors and just not really think twice about it before they do it, which can lead into things of drug abuse and just general really unhealthy lifestyles sometimes. Sadly, antisocial personality disorder is a lifelong disorder and it's not curable, but symptoms related to it can be cured. For example, things like anger problems, depression, anxiety are all usually related to this disorder. And anxiety, depression, anger problems can sometimes be remedied in people. So they can treat some of the symptoms, but they can't generally treat the actual problem of these symptoms. Sometimes people will see a decrease in their behavior over time as they get older. We're not really sure why that happens, but it is a common trend that tends to happen sometimes. So, how do we view it, people with ASPD? There's a lot of things out there that will demonize people with ASPD. I have three very big examples that we all probably know about. There's Hannibal Lecter from Silence of the Lambs, Norman Bates from Psycho, Patrick Bateman from American Psycho, and they're all very dramatized, exaggerated forms of this issue. And actually, there were 10 psychologists who watched over 400 films to see which, version of people who have sociopathic or psychopathic tendencies in movies, like which ones were most realistic. And the three that I had just mentioned earlier, the most popular ones, were actually some of the most unrealistic versions. And in a real world, they would never be diagnosed with this. But the three ones that were the most realistic were Anton Chigurh, I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, I'm so sorry, from No Country for Old Men, Mr. Harvey from The Lovely Bones, and Gordon Gekko from Wall Street. I wanted to point out that Gordon Gekko's character was never someone who committed extremely violent or anger-fueled crime. Hello. So he wasn't really someone who committed violent crimes. He was someone who more so used his manipulation skills to access money and wealth. So I just wanted to use that to point out that not everyone who has this disorder is someone who's, big and scary and violent. Sometimes it's in the form of manipulation for personal gain of other things. How can someone with ASPD get help? There are many options for anyone having struggles with mental health and substance abuse issues. For example, Orange Regional Medical Center has a mental health wing. Anyone can go into the ER and request help for mental illness or substance abuse problems. And there's actually a new program, I guess you could call it, where it's an urgent care for mental health issues, so you can receive walk-in care for any mental health or substance problems that you may be having. These are my references. The last two are references to the psychologists that studied films, and the first two are to general info on this disorder. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.